Hi everyone, my name is Miss Epp and I am a kindergarten teacher at Woodward Elementary, but I've taught many different grades. And if you joined me in another math video, you know that we have been talking about geometry, the study of shapes and lines. And today we are going to touch a little bit on that, but we are also going to get into fractions. So we're going to look at real world examples, and then you will get a fun assignment to do at home with a grown up or older sibling. And then you can take a picture of it and send it to Mr. Johnson for a cool surprise in the mail. So let's get started. I'm going to get our presentation going. There we go. Here we go. All right. So fractions are just a part of something. If you look at this picture here, there are different slices, and these slices aren't equal. But most of the time, fractions are equal in a picture. This one is just showing that sometimes they're not, but fractions are parts of a whole or parts of a big group of something. But not all fractions are slices of things. Sometimes fractions are groups of things that look different. So here we have some eggs, and there are 7 eggs in the carton, but 2 eggs are dark brown. So you can see those 2, one has like little speckled dots. So we have 7 eggs, 2 eggs are brown. So there are 2 out of 7 that are brown. See how there's 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 2 that are brown, so 2 out of 7, or 2/7. Here are some ways that you probably have seen fractions in your math activities, in your Google Classroom, or on Dreambox or other math activities that you do at home. Here is 1/2. So the circle was a hole, and then they cut it in half and shaded the top part. 1/2, 1/3, 2/3, 1/4 or 1/4, 2/4, and that is the same as a half. If you look how they are the same, there's 2 orange sections shaded, and there is 1 large purple shaded, but they are the same size, the same amount. They are equal. There are 3/4 or 3/4 shaded, 1/6, and 1/8. So sometimes you'll hear, like I said, 1/4. 1/4 is the same as 1/4. And here you see how the fraction is written a little differently. It's written vertically. So there are 2 different ways to write it, how I wrote it in the egg example and how it's written here, but they both mean the same thing. Now, like I said earlier, math is all around you. So if you are traveling with a grown-up, you may see different signs on the road. And here is a sign on the freeway that tells you how much distance, okay, instead of like a section of something, how much distance they have left to go to get to these certain streets. So here's 1/4. Here's 1.5. 2 1/4. So there's 1 whole number and then a half. There's 2 whole numbers and 1/4. So that's one way. You may also recognize these math tools from your classroom, and they are different shapes put together to make a whole shape. So you can see that there are 3 shapes here to make a whole shape. And this one, I think, is the yellow one is just an example of the shape without sections. Okay. And I want you to tell me what those shapes are. I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you everything. But sometimes fractions are also very delicious. So if you like pizza or donuts or really any food, you can make it into a fraction. So here we have one whole pizza that has been cut into thirds. Okay. We have one cookie that has been cut into fourths, 4 pieces. We have the twin popsicle pops that were one whole, and then you split them into 2. There's a half of each, and I didn't think of that one, so I thought that was pretty cool. Whoops. And 1/3 of the corn, a half of the donut, and a fourth of the graham cracker. And here is another example with the graham cracker. So you can take a graham cracker, break it apart, eat part of it, and you've eaten 1/4, okay? Or leave part of it and you've eaten 3/4. So now we are going to get to do some math in the kitchen. And we're actually not going to do it in my kitchen. I have it at my dinner table. But we are going to do some delicious math. Make sure that you ask a grown-up first to help you and get permission, because I don't want you to get in trouble and I don't want to get in trouble. So we're going to stop the presentation. And now you can see my face. So, excuse me. We're going to get to cook, or actually just use food with math, which is delicious. And we are going to learn about fractions. So I have a few different things, and we'll get to our cooking part, or our delicious math, in a little bit. So I actually went around my kitchen and I didn't find everything I needed, but I wanted to show you different ways that you can see math in your kitchen. So here is a measuring cup, and it says 1/8. So that's a fraction. So if I'm reading a recipe and I need 1/8 cup of sugar, then I would use this tool, and it says 1/8. And if you see here, it is it's written horizontally. So it's written a little differently than earlier in the presentation. Okay. This is one of my favorite mixing bowls. It's been used a lot, and it's written differently. It looks like a ruler, but each of those lines represents a fraction or a part of a whole. So here we have, let's see, 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups, all the way to 8 cups. And then it's broken down into sections so that if I don't need to measure a whole cup, I can fill it up with liquid or something for like 1.5 cups or 3 cups. So it helps me measure without having to measure over and over. I can just put it in the bowl. But sometimes fractions don't look all the same, like we've noticed with the measuring spoon and the bowl over there. They're all different. And here's a stick of butter. It's super cold butter, so it won't melt while we're doing this. But it has sections where it says 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, all the way up to 8 tablespoons. So let's say you're making a box of macaroni and cheese with your grown-up. You're not going to use all 8 tablespoons. You might only need to use 1 or 2, and so your grown-up will cut a section of the butter stick off to put in your macaroni and cheese. And if you didn't know there was butter in macaroni and cheese, well, now you do. It makes it creamy and delicious. So today, what we're going to do, and what part of your assignment is to do some delicious math. Now, I'm going to show you one way or two ways that I'm going to do it, and then give you some suggestions that you can do it at home differently if you need to. So, I made peanut butter and jelly sandwich earlier. Here's my jelly. It's actually fruit spread, so it's a little thicker than jelly. It's strawberry, my favorite. And then here's some peanut butter. Now, make sure you ask a grown-up first, because we don't want to get in trouble. So I have one whole peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, this is one section or one whole piece. Just like in our fraction of one entire pizza. I have a plastic knife. Make sure you ask a grown-up. And I'm going to cut it in half. Peanut butter and jelly is one of my favorite things. I eat it a lot when I'm teaching. So now I cut it in half, and I have a fraction. Okay, oops. So I have two pieces. The other one's a little sloppy. So here's one piece. Here's two pieces, and I have 1/2. If I cut it again, cut the halves into halves. Then I have 4ths. So I cut the halves into halves, and I have 4ths. So now I have 1/4 of my sandwich, and I have 3/4. Let's see if I can do it without tipping it over. 3/4 on the plate. It's a little tricky. I'm getting peanut butter everywhere. All right. So that's one way. You can make a sandwich. You can make toast. And you can cut up sections of your sandwich and see how many fractions you can make. Okay. And then when you do that, you can make a story problem. And this is what you're going to show Mr. Johnson. So you can take a picture of your food that you made, and then take a picture of your story problem. So my story problem says, Miss Epp had one sandwich. She cut it into 4 pieces. Then she ate 1 piece. Show the math. So then I drew 1 whole, then 4 pieces, and then I ate 1 piece. So it says Miss Epp ate 1/4. There are 3/4 left. So just like I showed you on the sandwich, I wrote it down and showed a picture. Now, if you can't make a sandwich, that's okay. You can just draw a story problem. Okay, that's why pictures are so important in math. Okay, and I just did squares. If you want to make it fantastic and draw details, you can do that. And just put that in your story problem and send that to Mr. Johnson, and that counts too. Another way to show math is with a piece of cheese. I know it seems interesting, but okay. So I'm making a mess. So I have 1 whole piece of cheese. Okay. Now I'm going to fold it over. So now I'm making triangles. Okay. And you could use a plastic knife if you needed to, but cheese is pretty thin. You can rip it in half. So now I have 2 halves. And then I'm going to fold it over again. So here's the half here. Fold it over again. And I'm going to do it on this side. Oh, it got stuck. Sorry. There we go. So now I have 4 pieces. 2 here and 2 here. And I did the same thing that I did with the sandwich. I just did it differently. Okay, so you can draw it, you can make a sandwich, you could do fruit. However you want to show your math fraction problem, you can do that. It doesn't have to be food. And the reason why this still counts as geometry too, like bonus math, is because you're still making shapes, okay? Here I have triangles. They're not perfect triangles, but they're triangles. Here I have squares, okay? In the butter stick, here I had a rectangle, okay? It's actually a rectangular prism, but a rectangle, okay? So you are using shapes to make fractions. So that is very cool. So let's go over your assignment again. You can do a hands-on activity. If you don't or are unable to, make your story problem. Take a picture of it from Mr. Johnson. You can take a picture of your food or whatever you did. And then also take a picture of your story problem. Okay. I hope you have fun. I hope it is a delicious time for you. Make sure that you ask your grown up and remember that you all are important and all are loved. And just like fractions, you're each a part of something, okay? You are a part of your school community, your family, your community where you live. And so we're all part of fractions. We all make the whole. We're all important. So look around you today, find fractions, enjoy doing the activity, stay safe, and remember, math is delicious. I made a pretty good sandwich.